Yeah,
Um,
I've reduced the evil.
well, this is the wrong
20% less evil.
this is the wrong podcast to reduce the evil because we want to maximize
All
the
right,
evil.
maximize the evil.
Maximize the evil because we're talking about movies, and I guess we can include shows that will just scare the ever loving bejesus out of people,
Yeah.
right? Do you imbibe in spooky season? Are you one of those people who like fall starts to watch all the good horror movies? I'd imagine with an 11-year-old son, at some point it's coming.
Yeah, he's starting to get into that kind of stuff. He's asking which scary movies he can watch and stuff like that. And I'm trying to think of like what kid-friendly things there would be. I'm not a huge horror fan. Most of the horror I like is like the psychological type of horror, like American Psycho or like Get Out, that type of stuff. I'm
Yeah.
not into like the slash type of horrors.
Well, same. I like stuff. I find it scarier when it could happen in real life. You know what I mean? So one thing I've been doing more in
Yeah, yeah,
recent years is watching the like movies and shows that take place in reality, like serial killer stuff, like Charles Manson documentaries and Ted Bundy,
yeah,
and just like the Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't watch a lot of murder shows. I know a lot of people do. I find them. The only time I really have free to watch stuff is early in the morning and late at night. And at night, I'm not in the mood to watch murder shows before bed. And in the morning, like, who wants to start off their day with murder shows, right? So I don't get a chance to watch a lot of them. But during this time of year, I walk a lot because the air outside is nice, and so I listen
yeah.
to the audiobooks of true crime stuff.
This week has not been nice. I don't know what you're talking about this week.
Well, this week has been awful. We had the false fall where it was like
Yeah,
65 degrees for a week, and now it's 100 again. But we'll have, pretty soon we're gonna have spooky season. But I want to throw some movies at you and see if you've seen these, because these are the ones that I find kind of. I find like stuff that's based in reality and doesn't have like scary monsters, like Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees they're fun, but they're not scary to me, right? Because those
yeah,
are not
yeah,
real things.
yeah.
Frailty with Bill Paxton. Have you ever seen
Yes,
this?
yes, that's a very good one.
Because so what's the prep? So he's basically he's killing people that he says are demons, right? And
Yes,
he's bringing his kids along. So it's got this whole like demented family aspect. It's got a great twist at the end, and it's really well acted. Like, usually I hate kid actors, but the kids in this one, like, they do such a good job of being creepy / scary. It's got Matthew McConaughey in a
yeah,
very creepy role, like as he's telling the story as the narrator to this cop, and I forget the cop's name, but he's like a classic 50s and 60s star actor who was in
yeah,
this
yeah.
movie as an older guy and just really nailed the creepy cop kind of role. So
Yeah,
that's
it's
one
been
of
a
my
while.
top three.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember it being really good.
Yeah. What are some like that you can think of?
Cape Fear.
Oh, with is it De
The
Niro?
Earl version, yeah. So they had the older version with like Gregory Peck
Yeah.
and Robert Mitchum, but the De Niro version is great. Scorsese directs it. Nick Nolte's in it. Uh, they spoof it on The Simpsons with Sideshow Bob.
Gregory Peck. That's so funny. That's the guy's name who plays the cop in Frailty. As an
He's
old
also
man.
I think they cast him also in the remake of Cape Fear. He's like an older guy in that as well.
Yeah. That's cool. All right, so I'm going to throw another one at you. This one has one of my scariest fears in it. It's called The Dentist. Have you ever heard of The Dentist?
I think I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen it though.
Hang on. I forget the guy's name. Corbin something.
Corbin
The
Benson,
The Dentist. It's got
Bernson or whatever.
Burnson, Corbin Burnson. Yeah, I couldn't
Yeah,
remember his last name. How many people
yeah,
are there named Corbin? Yeah, Corbin Burnson, where he's a dentist and he catches his wife like cheating on him and just snaps, right? And he starts torturing his patients. It's like you never know if that's the day that's why I'll never have a male dentist now. I
yeah.
always have like, a sweet little innocent, she's right now. My dentist is this Asian woman who is just like 5'3" and says I smell good. So that, so I don't think she's going to torture me to death.
Well, I mean, that's usually how it starts. I mean,
Yeah.
you think Buffalo Bob or whatever, like
Buffalo
puts a
Bill. Oh God, that's another one. Pet Cemetery, or not Pet? Oh, that's what I was going to mention.
Also, Lamb.
Silence of the Lambs. Yeah,
Yeah.
Silence of the Lambs. Because like there's people out there like that will just cut off your skin. Well, not so much you and me.
No, no,
Mostly scary for women.
not pretty enough.
Nobody wants my skin. I don't even want my skin.
Who does?
My skin is terrible.
Yeah,
but
terrible.
Pet Cemetery is the other one that I for some reason said the wrong name, but that's one that the little kid, the little demon possessed kid, and the creepy neighbor, and then you've got the guy. His name was Victor Pascal. He's on the cover of the thumbnail or whatever, where he was like, so this doctor starts working at a college, and on his first day, some kid who was riding his bike, college student, gets hit by a car, and he comes in and he's got this like mashed up head and his brain is hanging out, and it's gross, but it's like realistic. And then that night, his ghost like comes to visit him in his dream, and he walks him down to the pet cemetery, and he's like, "This is a place where the dead speak. Don't go to the place where the dead walk." And he like looks on beyond the pet cemetery. And that movie, I watched it when I was 7 or 8 years old, which is partially I think to blame for who I became. But I wasn't able to watch it again until my 30s. I was so terrified. The creepy sister who, "They're gonna get you," like she the one who was like dying of some weird disease while she was home alone with her little sister. Oh my God.
The Stephen King as a genre in general is good for spooky, scary movies. Misery, of course.
Yeah, that one's actually about cocaine. Did you know that?
No, Misery was?
Misery, yeah. He said he wrote that movie as cocaine was holding him prisoner. Like that was his. Huh. Yeah, it's a metaphor.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Christine.
Christine's a good one. So Carrie. I like the original It series way more than the new stuff. Yeah, like I just found it way creepier. The clown was way
great. Pennywise.
Skarsgård's good, but I like the original guy. I forget his name, but yeah, he was way better. All right, I'm gonna throw you another one that's a little bit kind of it's realistic and it's scary in a different kind of way. It's called Red State. Have you ever heard of this?
I've heard of it. I have not seen it.
So Kevin Smith, he decided to write a horror movie. Basically, these, I guess, three kids. They're, I guess, college students, high school students, that kind of age, and they're looking for their first encounter with a woman. And they find an ad on a website, like a Craigslist type of website, for somebody who wants to engage in a situation with multiple. Yeah, a situation. And so they go out there and they all get kidnapped by this religious like cult, kind of like the Westboro Baptist Church folks. They think they're all gay because like they want to do this whole like, orgy thing or whatever. And so they start like torturing them and killing them. And then like the cops come in and it becomes like a standoff, like a Waco style thing. Oh, yeah. Wild. That's definitely one. If you're scared of reality.
Didn't he do Tusk?
Tusk, yeah. So that's another one I got to mention. I was the only person in the theater to see Tusk. Like I went there. I was in San Francisco. I must have been like 2014, 2015, something like that. And I was feeling kind of sniffly, kind of sick. And the rest of the people in my group from work were all going out to like hit the clubs, hit the bars or whatever. And there was a movie theater right next to the hotel. And I was like, I'm just going to go to the movies. And I could feel myself getting kind of sick, but I wasn't like real sick yet. And during that movie, and it's a good thing I was the only one in the theater because I was really sick. During that movie, like my nose just started like leaking. You know how it is like when you just cannot stop blowing your nose. It's just like gross. Yeah. And then I started to get the sore throat. But Tusk is great because it's like another one where a guy answers an ad, right? And ends up being like a creepy person and transforms him into a walrus, cuts off his arms and legs, and he lives out the rest of his life as a walrus. Look, did you ever hear the story of how that was based on a real ad? Did you ever hear about this?
No, I didn't hear about this. Was this a real ad?
So
had to be Craigslist, right?
So Kevin Smith was, I think it was either him or one of his podcast people, like on his podcast team, was in a bar and saw an ad that said like, room for rent or whatever. And in the description, it said like everything is paid for except for 1 hour a week you must dress and act like a walrus and respond only in walrus commands. And like that started this whole conversation. There's a whole podcast about it. It's called The Carpenter and the Walrus is the name of the podcast. And they actually play it in the credits at the end of the movie. And it's a really, really, really creepy movie. Like I know it's supposed to be kind of funny and stuff like that, but it's really demented.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
it's
Justin
demented.
Long's in it, right?
Yeah, Justin Long. I like Justin Long. I got another one for you. It's called The Vanishing. So there's actually two versions of it. And the first one happened in the 80s, and I still haven't seen it, but I've heard it's even way creepier. But the one I saw had Kiefer Sutherland and Sandra Bullock. And they're this couple, they're driving down the road, and they're having a fight, okay? And they run out of gas, and they decide that they're going to walk to this gas station or whatever. And while Sandra Bullock is inside, Kiefer Sutherland's waiting outside. He's pissed at her. She gets abducted, right? And then the whole rest of the movie is him searching for her and trying to figure out like what happened to her. Meanwhile, we know who took her. We don't know what he did with her, but it played by, I believe it's Bernard Depardieu, maybe, or maybe it's Jeff
Gerard,
Daniels. The Vanishing. Hang on,
yeah,
just
they're the same person, Gerard Depardieu and Daniels.
it is. Hang on, let me just double check real quick. So it's got, yeah, Bernard Pear. No, that's not it. I can't.
It's Gerard Depardieu, isn't it? Like he's like the
No. I'm looking at the wrong one. I'm looking at the wrong one. So it is, yeah, Bernard Pierre Donadrio or something. I don't know how to say it. Anyway, he is this. He plays like a serial killer, basically, a true psychopath. I don't know if he's ever been in anything else, but he's the creepiest motherfucker there's ever been in a movie. And there's actually an older version of it, which I'm told is even scarier. It's got an even more twisted ending, and I don't want to give the ending away because it's really, really crazy. But definitely check that out. That's a must watch for spooky season. One I watched recently. Sorry,
have you seen California? Remember that one, Brad Pitt?
I have not seen it. I remember the movie box, but I don't think I've ever seen the movie.
That's another good creepy serial killer type of movie there.
I like a good serial killer movie. What's the premise?
It's been a while, but he's just Brad Pitt plays this like really like creepy southern rednecky dude.
So he's the killer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Brad Pitt is a serial killer
as well, I believe.
All right. I'm all over that.
Yeah. It's good. It's twisted, dark, but yeah, it's good.
All right. So there's one called High Tension, which is, it's more of like, it's a very violent, very gory. These two women traveling through Europe. I'm not sure exactly which country. It might be like Spain, might be Italy. And they stay with one. They stop to stay off with some relatives of this one girl. And then like this, I guess like crazy serial killer. And I can give away the ending on this one because it's such an obscure thing. This crazy serial killer comes in and kills like the whole family in the most violent ways possible. Chainsaw, like smashing people's heads, like awful stuff. And then you find out like the whole time it was one of the girls. Like it was her, like her alter ego, her mental
multiple personalities or whatever.
Yeah, there's another one. It's called Identity, where it's 5 people that.
Isn't that like John Cusack?
John Cusack, Amanda Peet. We might have actually watched that. I feel like I watched that with you one time. So they're all in the hotel room and they all have the same birthday, and it's all these really great characters, and you find out that they're all kind of like the figments of this one killer's imagination or whatever. That was dope. Just recently, me and my buddy watched Life. Have you ever seen Life? Not the one with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence, but with
is it like the Venom like type of thing where it's like the symbiote in space?
Kind of, yeah. So it's Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds, right? And they discover this little tiny life form that's like, you know, the size of a zygote or whatever, and it grows to be this massive. It's all brain, it's all muscle, it's super scary. It's wild. And we just it's got another twist ending, awesome score. Let's see what else. We went and saw 1408. Do you remember that one?
Remember that one? Yeah, the hotel one.
Yeah, John
Yeah,
Cusack. Do you believe in
I didn't like
ghosts?
that. I didn't like that one.
I
Did I
liked it.
what?
Do you believe in
Do,
ghosts?
do I believe in ghosts? Nah,
No,
no.
I
I
don't
think
know,
when we
man.
die, man, we're just like, that's it, dust.
I don't know, man. Maybe. It
I'm
seems
not,
like the whole thing would be.
I'm not like ruling it out, but it's like
Yeah.
it's not something I think about on a day to day basis. Like, man,
I
what if
saw
there's
this picture recently, and you can find it on Reddit on the supernatural or paranormal Reddit. Somebody took a picture in a dark room, right? And in the hallway, they were taking a picture of something else. They were taking a picture of this weird string that was standing up, and this guy's mom took this picture and sent it to him on the phone, and he was looking at the string. He said that's weird, and then he noticed there was something kind of dark in the background in the hallway, so he brightened it up, and there's a clear figure of like a woman with and she was wearing like an identifiable shirt of like it had like a um what's the not Scooby Doo but one of the cartoon dogs or whatever.
Scrappy
And
Doo?
Winnie the Pooh. It was Winnie the
Winnie,
Pooh. Anyway,
dog,
anyway,
Winnie the
and,
Pooh.
and when they blew it up, the mom recognized it immediately as like her long dead sister or whatever. And so the guy posted a picture online of this woman who it was supposed to be, and in the comments was a super recognizer. Are you familiar with the concept of a super recognizer?
No.
There are people who can look at somebody once and instantly remember their face forever, right? They just they can identify people or whatever. And they said, well, if this person, if this is accurate, the person in this photo, or the younger dead person, is the person in that hallway, like 100%, like So that freaked me out. That kind of made me believe in ghosts. I mean, I guess it could have been altered, but it
Yeah, it's
seemed
hard to it's hard to know in these days with, Photoshop and AI.
AI. Yeah.
It's like the Bigfoot
Um,
site.
So zombie movies. Obviously, we already talked about Pet Cemetery, Night of the Living Dead from the '80s. Did you ever see that one?
Yeah, I did. I don't find that one scary. Like that one wasn't as scary as like say like The Walking Dead or like, you know, World War Z type of zombie type of stuff.
So I like World War Z, but I find the zombies too fast. I like slow zombies. There's something like creepier about them being like recently deceased.
I feel like it's more terrifying if they're fast.
That's true. That is true.
Like you're not
Um,
getting away. You're screwed. Like slow zombies,
yeah,
like oh, it's like the scene from Goldmember where like the steamrollers coming at them, and it's like
yeah.
ah, it's like that. The zombies are yeah,
I liked the Dawn of the Dead movie that came out shortly
yeah.
thereafter.
28 Days Later is another good one.
28 weeks later. All right. So what else is on your? That's pretty much all the ones I've got. What else is on your must watch for spooky season?
Man, Seven is always a classic.
Oh dang, that is a classic. Yeah,
So good on so many levels.
that's another one that could happen.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of any of the serial killer movies could happen, right? I mean,
Yeah.
but as far as like serial killer movies, that's a very unique take on a serial killer, where there's a serial killer who's committing crime based on the seven deadly sins.
Yeah.
So that's pretty well acted, well done. So
Let me think. Who else we got? In terms of serial killer movies? Um,
there's
man,
Bundy, there's Gacy. I mean, there's like all
Gacy. Yeah, Gacy. Yeah, Gacy was a creepy one.
yeah,
Dahmer.
yeah, Dahmer, the series. You have, I think, of course, your Hannibal slash Silence of the Lambs, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I found the movie Hannibal to be not that scary and more just like I don't know, it was artsy. I did like
Yeah,
the brain eating scene where Ray Liotta was eating his own brain. Rest in peace, Ray Liotta. And then the last one, which was Hannibal Rising, I just found to be absurd. I thought that one sucked.
yeah. I mean, it kind of jumped the shark.
The show Hannibal was really good, but it was also kind of artsy, right? It was like it was almost too well done, right? I felt like when it's that art, like there's no way any serial killer is going to build a giant tableau in the middle of a freaking parking lot or a church or whatever without anybody seeing them these days. Everything's on camera or whatever. But there's something gritty to those old '80s, like the Silence of the Lambs one. But
If you're looking for like a fun type of horror movie where it's like doesn't take itself seriously, of course there's the Shaun of the Dead, right?
I just bought that. I got to watch it again. It was on sale on Vudu. I haven't seen it. I think I saw it when it came out in theaters, but I haven't watched it since.
Best of the trilogy. There's a trilogy, of course. There's Shaun of the Dead. There's the Hot Fuzz, which is like the
Hot
cop
Fuzz.
thing, and then the third one was This Is the End or End of the World or whatever, where the end of the world pub.
I didn't see that one.
Yep. And then you have your Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
That's a good one. Yeah, it's solid.
That's one of my favorites. Like it's a slasher one, but it's so funny.
What about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies? Because
Yeah,
they're kind of like they're slasher, but they're also like you could really run into some backwards ass. I honestly I find like the movie like Deliverance to be even scarier.
I think Deliverance is scarier than Texas Chainsaw Massacre because that's more like what probably would happen.
If you and I went on a trip up the river, exactly what would happen. Yeah, basically, in fact, what did happen in 2006.
I would be Ned Beatty. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I would be John Voight, except for the radical right wing views there. So
yeah, I think Deliverance did that to him. I think that.
I think it did. I think it did. That was the straw that broke the back. All right, I'm out of movies. You got anything else for us here before we wrap up?
I mean, there's musicals. Sweeney Todd.
I haven't seen Sweeney Todd. I'm not much of a musical guy.
I'm not either, but those are fun.
I never saw Little Shop of Horrors either.
Little Shop of Horrors with Steve Martin, Rick Moranis, Bill Murray. Speaking of dentists, there's a dentist scene in Little Shop of Horrors. There's an old dentist song. The dentist is basically like the abusive boyfriend of the love interest of the main character, and he huffs gas all the time. So
that sounds fun.
Yeah, it is fun. He ends up getting eaten by a plant, killer plant, alien plant. And Sweeney Todd is the butcher or the barber who's like basically killing everybody with his razors, right?
I mean, as you do with razors,
Yeah, I mean, good stuff.
But all right, speaking of huffing gas and plants, it's about that time. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Subscribe on all that stuff, and we will see you next time.